Okie dokie, I think we're live. And welcome everyone to the Business of Property on the Property Development Australia Facebook page. We've got people pouring into the Zoom chat room, and I see a lot of people on the Facebook page as well. I think we've got a bit of a full house here, David. Welcome. We have David Glover from Bluegum Property. And Bluegum is not only are you a developer, you're also a buyer's agent, David. So share a little bit about what it is that you do. And I'm sure I've got lots of people who are just itching to ask questions about our topic tonight, which is how we optioned up 11 properties for $1 each.
Yeah, we did. Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, Bluegum Property. It's our property business. So I am a buyer's agent. So we basically do focus on property projects. So I have an engineering background, did engineering all the way around the world, and so property was my gig was my side gig for 20 odd years. So my wife and I, well, she was my funder, so we did lots of property projects together. So we always went by ourselves. I retired out of engineering in about 2017 to go full time looking after our portfolio of properties, and then we went straight into to basically Bluegum, and that was.
Oops, sorry, I might just mute everyone. Oh, did I mute you too? Sorry, no, I muted you as well.
And then what that evolved into last, well, 6 months ago, I came back from the States from a short break over there for a couple of months to look at the property market and the mining market in America. And I just knew that I had to joint venture. You know, we both decided to leave the engineering profession. Well, my wife started her own business as well. So we lost our serviceability with the banks, in effect, for projects. So I had to solve another problem, which was, you know, how do you solve serviceability? And that's to do joint ventures. So yeah, basically rounded out our skill sets to add. I've always been pretty good at putting teams together, and you know, the sporting field, etc., and coaching, etc. So it's been a natural progression now, just into specifically joint venturing projects, specialize in that. And yeah, on the buyer's agency, we actually put together property projects for sale. So everyone can find a site, but you know, with our engineering degree, most business systems, we're pretty good at actually, you know, putting together really good feasible sites for developments. And just with the network you have of professionals, you've got a ready-made customer base. So that's what we currently do, and that may keep evolving as we go along. Who knows?
Fabulous. So tell us a bit about some of the projects that you've done. Like, what sort of projects? Residential, commercial, a mix of everything?
Too right. We kicked off deceased estate, literally deceased estate, which required you know, removing the toilet seat as you went in the door. That was the first thing that had to get removed from the deceased estate, and that was a great project. That was a, you know, typical, you know, fixer-upper deceased estate. Then it was a mortgage foreclosure on a farm in the vineyards in Hunter Valley. And a good mate of mine rang me on night shift, and Rob's like, hey, one of the boys just said some guy's getting his gate locked and there's like sheriff there or something, right? And so we literally went out at 6:30 the next morning, straight after night shift, and yeah, I owned that block about 24 hours later. So that was a mortgage foreclosure, 64 acres, Shannara there at the vineyards. If you look up the Hunter Valley vineyards and you type in Shannara, it actually still comes up on Google Maps. And that was a big fix up, built a brand new sort of house on that place. The day I laid the flooring, I literally left and drove to Brisbane for 12 hours to start an engineering job up here in Brisbane. And yeah, we've done everything. We've done title splits, 1 into 14 subdivision together, cosmetic renos multiple times, Airbnb strategies. While I've been renovating or extending, we've done some Airbnb stuff as well in amongst all that. Just multitude of strategies. And now we've sort of got the industrial side as well now. And then, yeah, in the business, yeah, it's just, yeah, we've got current 6 projects. So we've got a 1 into 9 subdivision, a 1 into 4. We've got the Shell Street Precinct, which we're going to talk about tonight. We've got the storage units to go into that one. We've got an 11-unit development at just at Woody Point, just south of Redcliffe, and we've got a 24-unit development at Redcliffe. So that's what we're currently got on the books. There's quite a bit in the pipeline. Plus, I got a multitude of properties and projects that we're finding for other people. I reached out to all the Sydney and Melbourne business buyers agents, and so they need help during the COVID crisis with all the South East Queensland properties. So we started sourcing all their properties for them, and that really helped them stay client focused. And we just did so when I say we, I actually built a network of buyers agents around the country that actually work through my systems. And so I bring in the leads, interface with buyers agents, and they follow the training and the systems to pull those projects in, and it works really well. It's made it quite efficient.
That's great. You're collaborating with other people as well.
All the time. I love it. It is really good, you know, like it's property's a people business. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. Yeah. So
Shell Street Precinct.
Yeah, what a rip snore of a story that thing's been. Like 3 years ago, 2018, Easter, I saw an ad, you know, like the for sale by owner type of ad, you know, so it was kind of like cool, right? So, you know, Easter Saturday night, you're supposed to be at a party. I'm sitting at a bar, you know, trying to talk to Sarah, trying to talk her out of selling it actually. And it sounded pretty good. And then she sort of goes, oh, you know, it's, she tells me all her other properties, and they wanted to buy this acreage down at Coburg, right? A really lifestyle type of change, okay? So they had to sell one of these investment properties. She'd inherited one from her mum, and she brought this initially when she was a 18-year-old hairdresser. And so I was like, really, Sarah? Like, why would you get rid of this one? Like, just get rid of your mum's one that you sort of inherited, right? And she's like, oh, no, you get rid of this thing. She goes, oh, it's industrial, and oh, the neighbour's selling his place. And I was like, okay, I'll have a look. So that was the start of it. It was basically 2 adjoining properties in industrial commercial that was zoned for 15 metres. And so we picked them up cash flow positive, okay? And that was the start of the precinct. So what happened was the third neighbour that was for sale, I mentioned the word, I'd like to do a development. That's when you're a rookie, okay? And he just like, mate, it was not on the market at that price anymore, okay? And the real estate agent was like, oh, mate, I don't represent this guy anymore, okay? Like he went, you know, hook, line and sinker on the word, you know, I want to sort of look at doing a development. Would you do it together? And that's where you kind of learn real quick, you know, sometimes words trigger certain behaviours in people. And so I had to go the other direction. The problem was the other direction was a dead-end road. So we've got these 2 blocks, right, that are kind of like not quite big enough to build these storage units on. And it was just a massive problem. So we ended up across the road thinking that I could sort of get some ground from the council, maybe, you know, and the neighbour across the road, he was an investor, and he's like, yeah, let's go for it. And I'm like, awesome. You know, have you heard of these things, you know, these option contracts, right? So we can go into a project together. And he's like, yeah, awesome, man. And I'm like, all right. And anyway, Sean, he's a 24-year-old plumber, right? He was living out of his car, working on Grafton Jail. I thought he was a full-on investor because he was like, yep, let's talk about the project. What do you want to do? And he'd only owned it for a couple of years, right? And he was just easy to talk to. He wanted to sort of do a project together. And so then we did our option contract with him. And then we got talking to the neighbour next door. They live there with and we just got talking about the project and the concept of doing the storage units, because when you have a dead end road, you can actually resume the road. And I knew that. So I was pretty keen to just resume the road, go over the top. And so we picked up another one, and then the original guy that had been triggered, he wanted to join the project. So that was option number 5. and then, you know, we got talking to more neighbours, okay? And so then I kind of got eyes on the prize. There was this really nice 10,000 square metre block about 200, 300 meters away. And I'm like, geez, it'd be really cool to get that far, right? Like, who wouldn't want 20,000 square meters of ground, right? This thing's 400 meters from CBD commercial in Caboolture, right? Already zoned industrial commercial. And so I just was a little naive at the time. I was kind of like, yeah, we'll get there. So every time I kept getting a no, I'd go another direction. And every time I'd get a yes, I'd kind of like keep trying to go that direction. Then I'd get a no. So then I'd go back the other direction, and then they'd want to join the project. So we ended up talking to 197 different people. And the list was phenomenal, right, of the people that we were communicating with. And during that whole time, I kept getting more and more vision about what we wanted to build. So we'd started off with that vision of a storage unit, right? So we were kind of thinking, couple story, we'll play golf every second weekend based on the proceeds coming out of this thing, like it was like living the dream for the next 30 years. And then I got involved from a mining project with a gentleman who had an Asian school. So they were looking to bring 400 students to the area. So we were able to progress that through to an actual MOU, and we had all of them then as an anchor tenant, right? So we'd expanded ourselves by that time to 17 adjoining titles comprising 25,000 square meters.
Goodness. And what did you start off with the two?
We started off in 2 lots under option, and it just got bigger. So the concept is with any option strategy is you want to be able to get the DA, right? So you basically talk to the owners and you say, look, until we, especially when you've got a commercial, like until we get the DA, there's no real value add. The first biggest step you can do in any project is to de-risk it by getting your site survey and getting into your pre-lodgement meeting. So eyes on the prize is get control of the titles in whatever way you can, okay? It's a little bit easier when you have a real estate license. You can use different contracting strategies available that direction, plus you've got your options. And so we'd chosen to do the option strategy with this one. And eyes on the prize was kind of like, let's get to a DA stage. But when we first priced the DA back then, and I had really not a lot of experience in raising private money back then. So we were still looking to fund everything ourselves. And so that just, so I had this site that ended up 5 blocks. So we had, roughly 4,000 square meters, a bit over, which was actually a little too big for a storage unit complex by that stage, because if you do 3 stories, you realise that, you're well over the 6,000 squares. So it became, every time was just, I've got a problem to solve, right? And then when we got eyes on the complex, the educational precinct, that looked really good. And then COVID hit. And, we had a joint venture sitting on the table on the 2nd of March this year. And so we had 2 building groups. One of them had actually dropped a joint venture contract on the table. 2 days later, COVID just destroyed Australia. Like the finance industry had like a 2-week period. They freaked out early March. And we sort of tried about along, and then Australia and China got into the big verbal dispute about a month ago, and it was kind of like, so we pivoted once again, and so we broke the site. We always have a backup plan, so we broke the site back up into 4 sites. We've kicked off straight away into working with some good partners to look at some storage units. So we're actually on site survey this Thursday, and we are literally getting ready to go into pre-lodgement in 3 weeks' time for storage units. So the strategy is really crucial for people to understand, is that once you can get into at least a pre-lodgement meeting, and you can get that minutes of the meeting coming back from council that say, we're pretty happy for you to submit that you can go to 15 metres high. You can do that for a reasonable price. You can hold your titles, get your pre-lodgement at least underway, and even though you don't have the DA, you can pretty well de-risk your project where finance partners start to talk to you. So the last 2 weeks I've been on site 5 or 6 times with finance partners already doing their due diligence based on the fact that they know we're getting ready for pre-lodgement. And you've got to run multiple processes, right, here at the same time. But the theory being, so it's still theory right now, is that when we get that pre-lodgement meeting, and you get the minutes from the meeting, the funders to really kick this off will tick the boxes and, you know, will then back us on an equity and a play for this. So it's quite different when you do this sort of project. You still have to give a bit of equity away in your company structure.
Yeah. So I've got a few questions here, David, and that's all, you know, just a few technical things about the option and I guess the reason why so many people were happy to jump on board. Like, how much of an uplift, and if you can run some numbers, say, you know, if first of all it was zoned.
It's zoned industrial commercial.
Yeah.
So as a residential, it's probably valued at, let's say, $350 a square metre.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, but industrial commercial 3 years ago in that area was sitting at around $475. So I had all my comparisons. So $475 would have had an old shed built on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in about 2019, that numbers blew through the 650 mark, and there was a massive uptick, probably about a year and a half ago, in pretty well Australia-wide in industrial. And I'm pretty sure it's still heading north to this day. So industrial is because there's not a lot of land being rezoned industrial as well. So at the moment, what we're seeing around from because I keep a bit of a pulse now on industrial numbers. So that's one story for those numbers, right? So you got to remember this thing can go 3 stories. Yeah. So that's why it's so important that we get that pre-lodgement that ticks the box that says, because we'll actually go and just blow slightly over that 15-metre level. And so that means that there should be a significant upside on that industrial valuation. So when you get a pre-lodgement that says, yeah, you're fine to put an industrial play on and you're fine to go over 3 stories, you can start pulling comparisons, which are pretty scarce to get because there's not a lot of that product in the market.
Particularly in Caboolture.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And so we're talking about farmland that's been rezoned?
We are right in town. Right in town. We're 400
so,
metres from the main train station of Caboolture.
Oh my goodness.
Like Macca's is a stroll around the corner to go and get a feed. Like it's awesome spot.
But the fact that you're amalgamating these lots and are able to get a higher yield,
yes,
is the reason why the owners are obviously happy to be able to go in at a $1 option, because how much sort of a premium are you offering?
I wouldn't say they're happy. It's a negotiating skill. Like, so yeah, you do pay a little bit more. Okay. So you're paying for time. That's true. But you're also like, they're project participants. I know these people really well. I know them all in first name. I actually probably know some of their blood pressure, like, you know, some of the older ladies and all that, you know, like it's just a classic, right? You get an education dealing with these 190s. There's so many people involved. It's amazing, right? So you got to be a people person. You got to know what they want. You got to know how to negotiate with them and for them. You need to become inclusive. So they are literally project participants. So many of these people are friends of mine now. Like, I know them pretty well. And it's not quite as what most people probably think. Most people probably imagine something like this is a real hands-off deal. You know, you just get these option contracts and it's all about the money, and you know, it's about the right deal, Cheryl. Like, it's about they become a project participant. You need them in the tent with you for this amount of time. Everyone on that site knows the strategy. Like, it is an open book of the strategy, not so much each individual commercial, but they all know the project plan. And I've really included them as project partners and communicate well to them, I think. And yeah, we've, you know, they understand the strategy of what we're trying to all achieve. Not so much, I wouldn't say the word together, but more like, but through me. I just became a bit of a leader on the site to unlock the value. Individually, they're buggered, right? They're at 350 bucks a square metre.
Yeah.
And they'll never unlock any more value without working with the other people. But they need someone to work through to achieve that.
Yeah. And so in saying that, and this is, I love the word collaboration as well, because this is what it is, you know, and it's not easy. I mean, you're talking about over 100 people. So were you having to have these big conferences with them, or how did you deal with the individual people or individual families or whichever?
Lots of teacups.
Scones and tea. Yeah.
Yeah, you get invited into their house, and yeah, they get to know you. You get to know them. You get to have a few cup of teas, and the dollar down is what you mentioned, and everyone craves for that, right? I mean, but look at it this way, Cheryl. See that coffee cup in your hand just there? If we want to negotiate about the price of that, because I see yours is slightly bigger than mine, right? So let's talk about that coffee cup. If I want to negotiate on that, we could name a price, right? But I would just say to you straight off, look, the only way we're ever going to agree on a price is if we agree I just give you $1 deposit now, and now let's just figure out what the remaining price is. And it takes away the complication. So the people were really good. So I had no worries there about the dollar down, the time frame, okay, and the strike price. Very easy to come to that. Now, it's when you get to the lawyers, that's when you're in massive trouble. Okay, so
how many lawyers did you have to deal with?
14. 2 of them should be disbarred. They were that bad to their customers. So I always pay for 2 hours of legal advice. So I pay for 2 hours for them to go and get legal advice so that they can go and get proper legal advice from their nominated lawyer. Now, 2 of them were extremely brilliant, wonderful. The most dearest one that we put together was the 10,000 square metre title. You would think their lawyer would have been the most horrendous person you could ever meet, right? Like you think big wig lawyer, blah, blah, blah. He was awesome. Like that guy was just gold medal. He first thing he said is, what's your intent, lad? Okay, so you're telling him about the project, right? And he goes, well, all right, we'll change this and I'll change that. And you happy with that? Yeah, mate. And he's like, good lad. Okay. That was what he was like. And yet on some of the others, we had one gentleman who's quite disabled gentleman. He went into a lawyer. The lawyer swore at him in the way of like, I would never touch a contract in what, and basically booted him out of the office, sent him an $800 bill. And this guy's crying on the phone. And I said, send me the bill, right? I'll ring this guy up. We had a discussion. I didn't pay the $800. The $800 bill went away. I just said, that's horrendous, mate. You cannot do that to people, you know? So we saw everything. I mean, human nature is human nature. It raises itself so much in a project when you are negotiating this sort of numbers, time frame, collaboration. Yeah, you face a lot and you see a lot of human emotion. You know, people are, to this day, right, because we are now seeing surveyors come on site and we're starting to get to the end goal. Like when I was up there the other day, you know, like there's a certain amount of, I don't want to use tension in people, but creative tension. So they're like excited that we're almost there, you know, so they're on the journey. People are a little nervous, you know, they're well informed about where we are and where we're headed to. And so, yeah, you know, you're always, that's why you've got to be a good communicator to them about what's going on. It is their title and it's their title the whole way through. And I've had to learn to become highly respectful that it's their title and they are a project participant, even though, you know, we have a commercial agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the owners have to have any sort of MOU between each other?
No, actually they didn't even, there was very little communication between owners. That was kind of the surprising thing. They all kind of kept to themselves.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I've got a few questions here from the floor.
Yeah.
So Owen's asked, how did you ascertain the strike price?
Well, there's a couple of ways you can do that. All right. So Cheryl, tell me, that's a nice cup, right? Would you sell it?
Depends on how much you're willing to pay for it.
There we go. All right. So straight away we're into a price discussion. So a lot of it's education. So I would always have comparisons. Okay. So we knew what everything sold for in the area. There's a couple of reasons people sell. They either want to go and move somewhere else, or they just want the money. Okay. Generally, most people want to move somewhere else, and we had that quite a lot. So we basically also had comparisons of where we sort of knew the people wanted to move to. So if they wanted to move to Redcliffe, for example, and live on the beach, I knew I was in big trouble, okay, because that's a $7 to $1 million sort of unit, okay. So, but if they had aspirations of moving to a nice house and maybe buying a caravan and putting 60 grand in the bank, all right, then we're in for a deal. So, so you had to manage people's expectations. I saw everything. I saw everything from realistically wondering what a nice little markup on what they pay would be, so like a return on investment type of calculation, to the most greediest type of approach you'd ever seen in your life, right? Like, and basically, you know, you're screwed if I don't do a deal with you, and blah, you know, blah, 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 right? So everyone works through those motions eventually, and so finding that strike price is a balance of people's wants, needs, and behaviours. And so you can approach it with multiple strategies: the intrinsic value strategy, the aspirational strategy, or the look, this is just a price type of strategy, okay, that we can afford. You know, like, I'd love to put you in a unit at Redcliffe, I really would, you know, but you got to realise industrial land's only worth X amount of dollars, and it has to be a viable project. So you have to do this. You know, I understand where you want to go to, but you got to realise we have to get there to let you go there, and that just takes somewhere between 7 to 17 meetings. I literally had 17 meetings with one person. Yep.
Patience. So
17 meetings. 17 face-to-face meetings
more
with one particular title. Yep.
Exercise patience. So was it a blanket square meter rate across the board, or each and everyone's?
Yeah, each and everyone's slightly different. And you got to realise there's some sections that are worth more to the project than others. So we've got some really high visible stuff. We've got some location that's slightly water affected. We have stuff that's got the main road. So we've got the main transport, so a transport solution. Yeah. And we've got other stuff that's closer to McDonald's or to the centre of the city, okay? Yeah. So though very much each title had a different weighting of value to me, and I kept, as we were progressing the project, sometimes we would face it north one week, and then we picked up the school, and all of a sudden I'm facing it to the centre of the city. So what was the back end of the project became the front end of the project in about 2 hours, right? Depending on, you know,
so it's a bit of a moving feast, really.
It was a hugely and every time I get blocked going one direction, it would sort of change what we kept. So we were rolling out aged care thought. So it was an education precinct. It was a health precinct. It was a entertainment precinct. They were our biggest options. And so you go and you assess all these things, right? So Caboolture's got some real strengths and it's got some few weaknesses, but in the strengths, we just kept working away going, oh, this would make an awesome hotel pub, right? And then, you know, thank God we didn't go down that route, because COVID would have totally put us in massive trouble. But we investigated it. I got to go to all the pubs in Caboolture and do a business meeting, you know, to see, you know, what the pubs were like, and the clubs and the hotels. Like, if you had a look at Caboolture South Lease Club, I was highly inspired. I really wanted to replicate what they did. And then we got interested very much in the education really quickly, and it is a really interesting market to get into. And we always knew we had the backup plans of what we're doing now with the industrial storage sheds and the 2-level, you know, mechanics and electrical with the gyms and all that over the top. So we've got multiple, it's almost like a Lego set, you just keep pulling them apart. You just stick Darth Vader here and then you put his X-Wing over there and then you go, oh no, it's better if, Luke comes in from this direction or something, right? You just keep moving the Lego set around. I've had this for 3 years, this piece of paper, and it lives in a plastic sleeve because over the top of it, I keep drawing all my little concepts.
Yeah.
But when I finally crack this thing's going to get framed and hung up on the wall because everyone that knows me knows how much sweat has gone in behind that piece of paper.
So you've been keeping your planner busy.
Yeah. It helps. I'm an engineer and I do a fair bit of stuff myself.
Yeah. So what's and sorry, I've got another question here from Stephen. What was the average length of the options for you to conduct your DA? So what was your first of all, did you have a DD period to begin with?
No.
You just went straight into a call option.
To an option, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's the clauses for extensions, there's clauses, but no less than 2 years. Is the question how long did it take before I could get a call option from somebody, or how long we have the call options for?
No, so the length of the options for you to conduct your DA. So how?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
With an extension. Yeah. So as long as there's good faith in those contracts. So I've got a very fair contracts. So there's lots of good faith clauses in there. We actually communicate to everyone where we're up to in the process because via the contract, we are compelled to actually communicate and to ensure that we're not land banking. Everyone's greatest fear on an option contract is you're a land banker and you're just, hanging on to my block for 2 years, hope prices go up and flick it to someone else.
Yeah.
Now, that was never our strategy. So we were always very communicating and still are to this day on exactly what actions we're doing and,
where you're at,
where we're exactly in the project. And if we were not to prove that we were doing what we said we would do, they could basically throw it out the door. So I think you've got to, if you want to create trust in people, you have to realize what their fears are. And a lot of people were very fearful that it was just a land banking exercise initially.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have a sunset clause in that option agreement? Like, I know you've got a minimum of 2 years. Is there a maximum that you can't take more than? No. Okay.
Once again,
next.
It's because they're project participants. You got to realize it's just a commercial structure. So they've become project participants through an option contract. Yeah. And that's how they behave too.
Yeah. And how much input are they sort of at least talking to you about? Like you said, David, have you thought of putting this? And I'm sure you have sort of conversations like that.
Oh, there's one chirpy little bugger. He gets on the phone a fair bit actually, but he's got no idea, so that's okay. Actually, he's okay. He's on the call. Sorry. No, out of them all, really, they've been extremely hands off on any sort of concept, really. So, yeah, no real input to what would go on there or not go on there at all. No one ever specified what couldn't get on there either. Okay, that's interesting. And obviously that means that you've done your job to give them that level of confidence that you knew what you were doing. And I think we just had a really good vision from day one as to what we wanted to achieve. We were really clear on getting the best value sort of scenario, and so we're always we had a really good vision from the start about what we first wanted, and then as things changed, we still kept people coming along with the vision about what we could do in the area. So most people loved when we were working hard on the education precinct. Most people almost wanted to leave a legacy in the area as well. So they loved the thought, even when we were seriously looking at the childcare a few weeks ago, that really struck a chord with a lot of people. They really actually kind of wanted that as well. So there was definitely positive responses to things that they thought had a bit of a legacy to the area. Yeah. So what's included? You've got storage units.
An educational
Yeah.
precinct?
It's still an educational precinct. I'm very interested in pathways education. So there are 5 pathway educators in Caboolture. It's a growing significant market. It's the year 9 to year 12 market. So I'm well down the track on potentially our own school. There's no barrier to entry. And so I've got some interesting ideas on that one that we can do, including our other business is an engineering automation business, and the timber mill next door, we have already started discussions over an advanced robotics educational precinct in that area. The problem is councils don't have a lot of vision for what could get put into their areas. They do have groups inside their council, but they're not very commercially innovative. Hopefully that's, I've got to go into pre-lodgement in 3 weeks, so don't say anything to council. So we've got some really good ideas. I've done a lot of assessment. I need to crack through on the storage units to prove the valuation to the big fund players. They've been on site doing their assessments. They're just waiting for us to get into the pre-lodgement meeting now. And we need to crack hard after that with getting them on board, either especially into that educational precinct, health area. We've got a section where we've got to provide, like a small IGA and an industrial with gyms and hairdresser shops and stuff like that we can put in. So once again, it's a bit of a Lego set, but we've got a hit list, a wish list of what we can put in, and what we have to solve is our money flow. That's the thing. You've got to get your first value you put into your block, and then you've got to get, like I said, I've got to give away some equity on the site to get partners in, and then we go traditional funding. So it's quite a path to get there.
2 questions I've got in terms of council and planning, So one,
just remember, I've got pre-lodgement in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Be nice. Was there a strategic plan that council had for the area?
I'm an engineer, and oh my God, do I get bloody cranky when I am meeting those people over strategic plans. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
So I guess that's I guess that's probably a not really.
They do. All councils now have these economic strategic development groups. They pull effectively a lot of their town planners into that group. Okay, wrong people. Yep, nice people, just the wrong skill set. Yep.
And why do you say that?
I got to be really careful, Cheryl. I got to deal with these guys on a really big precinct, and like my opinion based on my background, and engineering, did a lot of development around the world, big development areas, right? I saw a lot of really good stuff going around the world. So I get frustrated because I don't see that level of interest or expertise, or they're not thinking like, this country has to innovate. We've got to get better. We've got to embrace robotics. We've got to embrace automation, all this sort of stuff, right? These people think advanced automation, sticking a sensor on a bloody pipe factory, right? That's 1980s technology. Sorry. It frustrates me because if you get up into actually, the Sunshine Coast, highly innovative, right? You got so many good tech groups in the middle of the Sunshine Coast, right? Really clever, and yet these guys, they don't even know what they've got in their own backyard. In way of value in some of their manufacturing and their assets that they've got. Yeah, so you get frustrated pretty quickly. Yeah. Councils aren't there to help you, Cheryl. They are there to follow the bureaucratic process.
So it'll be an interesting pre-lodgement meeting.
Oh, no, it'll be good. I probably won't be allowed to be there. I'm pretty sure Alex Stefan will ban me. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Next one is about funding.
Oh yeah, here we go.
So mindful, we've got sort of 15 minutes there. So tell us, I guess, the whole, how did you get private funders interested, and where have you been able to source the private funders?
Yep, that is a that is a massive skill. Now that comes down to, once again, you got to be an investor to know an investor. So I've been an investor in property for a long time. So it helps, I think, when you've probably got your own portfolio. Like, so when you have a track record already personally, and then when you're an engineer, right? So I grew up in BHP engineering initially, and then around the world in a big aluminium smelter. So I was very used to putting presentations together for funding, quite large engineering projects. So corporate funding, things like that. So I had a background inside engineering on a funding side. So you get good at knowing how to do your feasibilities, as long as you can use Microsoft, PowerPoint or whatever you can, right? You have to put together a cognitive, well thought through feasibility study presentation. And you've got to then go wear the leather out in your shoes, talking to people about your projects, your background, what you're trying to achieve, get them into the vision. Once again, they're project partners. So when you're raising private money and joint venture money, they are in the tent. So when we now deal with people, they can come in as a money partner first. And then we've got, that next level in, which is what I call in the tent, where they're actually in the owner's team, and that's private money. And they get their share of the rewards in the projects. And that's why we can do so many projects. We've got, I think I was talking to you a bit earlier, like, yeah, it's a bit of a trajectory now. We're getting a lot more private money coming to us. And it's based on having the right projects at the right time with the right, well thought through project plan and communication about what it is, and showing you've got a great team. You would have seen my my logo board recently I put out. Everyone loved that. Like you've got to be proud of your team. Like they're good mates of mine as well, but they're wonderful businesses. Every single business on that logo board of ours is a solid operator, well versed in what they're doing. So it's not just me, private money people putting their money into, they're putting it into the project, into the delivery team. And so you've got to have a very well-rounded package. You just can't be a entrepreneur and get private money to come to you.
Yeah, and they're coming in from equity. What sort of
equity is a slightly different play, Cheryl. So yeah, a joint venture is different to an equity play. Equity play is when, like the Shell Street one, that's held by a company structure to hold those titles.
Yeah.
And so when I mean an equity play, they actually take a percentage of that company, where when we do a joint venture, they don't take a share of the company. They take a share of the profit. So a joint venture is a profit share. Yeah. But an equity play is actually giving away the baby in the bathwater. Yeah. Like they literally are getting shares in a company that holds that asset. Yeah.
And what's the total development cost of this project looking like now?
Yeah, so we were originally at just shy of the $100 million package mark on the precinct, and so that was the deal with the building group. We had just shy of that, like, to be funded, and so we backed off a bit now from that. So the storage units, we're roughly looking at a $10 million project in that small corner. So so if you think 2,000 square meters of our 25,000 square is now slated for a $10 million project. We're still pretty much on track for a $100 million spend over the total span of that project. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's obviously going to be in stages where you can cash flow that a lot better as well.
Yeah, well, think of the storage unit, right? I mean, the so cool thing about that is we built a box, right? You know, the next cool thing is it's like more level. You have to deck the first level out, get all the customers in, cash flow pays for the rest of the fit out. The fit out's actually quite expensive. So I'm loving that concept, right? Like I'm thinking, what else can I build on there that's got a similar concept that you can build a box and then get cash flow to expand into? So even though I'm going to build a whole bunch of those man caves, those 3-story man caves with those, things. If anybody wants one of them, give me a yell, because I need a neighbour. My wife won't think it's sus if I have one just there by myself. Have you seen them? They are amazing, those things. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not the little tiny houses.
I was just checking if you've been in one.
A little man cave. No, my husband's not allowed. My husband's not allowed to have one. Sorry. He's allowed a shed, a small shed.
These are a big shed.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a few questions here. Hold on.
Yep.
Owen said, have you looked at tech capability? Could you run a network POI from location, i.e. helping drive technology park?
Thought about it. I mean, that sort of so much touches on our other business, right? So we have a automation business. So, you know, Industry 5, automation of mining, forestry space. I thought about it. We've got some early stage discussions, but I'd probably put that somewhere else than Caboolture, to tell you the truth. I'd be more interested in the Springfields of the world and places like that have got, or I go into Mooloolaba, somewhere I really need to tap onto the higher speed cabling. Caboolture, I think, would kill me for that. This site's too good for that. It's got a different destiny, this site.
I'd like to go back to the funding as well, again, David, in terms of private lenders from the debt space. And we're talking about Caboolture being a little bit out of town, right? Like what's the appetite for it in the current market for funding?
Best I've ever seen. We've raised so much money in the last 2 months on all our projects. The fluff seems to have gone away. Like when we're having discussions now, people are really serious now about return on investment. So it's really, I'm not having to fight with the cryptocurrency distraction or other things. And so what we're seeing is real questions over real delivery, risk management, opportunity management, real estate, cash flow, future cash flows, IRRs, all those sort of discussions. The investors are definitely looking back at property projects. So it's easier now than it's been for a long time. And
they are not scared off by the fact that it's not within a metro city.
I love it that everybody else wants to be in inner city Brisbane. It is a joke. I mean, it's just such a low return. Okay. So I'm happy that most people love to be inner city. But anyway, love it. Please stay there. You make my life so much better and profitable.
More opportunities for
you. Just keep that really quiet, Leah. Okay?
There might be a few hundred people watching, so I'm not sure how quiet we can be. I like to sort of wrap this up with some 5 tips. So I've got Matthew White who's asked, what are the 5 top tips for setting up an options deal like you have? Yeah,
you gotta know your values of your land, what you can go to and why. Then you've got to do your homework. Then you've got to know about the people that you're interacting with, like the title holders. So first tip is, know what really the value of the land would be. I always knew that we needed to be in around that 4 to 450 mark. Otherwise we were dead. So if you can hold your heart on that and know that number, you can explain it to somebody with conviction. If you're wishy-washy, no good. Second one is know your people. So every time we got to meet a title holder, we knew a lot about them, and we respected them very much as the title holder. So I hope we did a good job there as remembering that it's their property and that we were inviting them to try and participate in the project with us, and we needed to know them and understand too that they would go through various emotions and reactions. So that's really tip number 2, is to know your potential partner and to treat them as a partner, not as a piece of paper that you need signed. I see a lot of people go in that way too hard. Third tip is pay their lawyer for 2 hours. That stopped a lot of heartache. So that should really be tip 1. No, the most important tip is tip 3. Okay, pay 2 hours of their legal time. It's a good call. Okay, so that gives them the right to have good representation and stops the lawyers on the other side from bleeding them, for every penny they can.
Yeah.
I'm getting stuck on tip 4 and 5, people. Like tip 4 is really be pretty flexible. Like go for your keep your vision in mind. You always want to have what that Lego board's going to look like, but still be flexible that you can move it around. Don't get too pedantically hung up. I got taught a big lesson on a 1:14 subdivision of mine years ago, and that kept me going with this one. And the last one is just have faith and persistence. Every time I got a no, it became like, okay, I can go left, I can go right, I can go under, I can go over. It became a bit of a funny mantra after a while, like my mate would laugh and say, what, you got to know? And he knew that I'd be heading off in some other direction to try and, achieve what, we're trying to achieve. So they're my 5. And I can't repeat them now because I've forgotten.
No, that's fine. I can that's what replays are for. Great tips, David. No, that's been fantastic, and I'm sure we'll have a few more questions. It's an exciting project. I don't know if you've got any images that you can sort of. You probably don't have them.
I can share.
Moment. Yeah, okay. That'd be great. Love
can
to
I
see
share?
it. Yes,
okay.
Of course. Hold on. I've got to.
You got to allow me to share.
Allow participants to share screen. Go ahead.
Oh, so here she is. So this is the Shell Street Precinct. So that's KFC, Macca's. Okay, there's the train station.
Yeah.
There's council chambers. Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is the Shell Street Precinct. All here.
Fantastic.
This is the site. So our storage units, in about a year's time, hopefully Google will fly over and you'll see a few stick frames going up just there. Okay, so that's an old busway. So there'll be and that's a main distributor road. So lots of people will see it. So there will be a great big box just there, 3 stories high in about 2.5 years' time. So, and that matches in with the look, and then we obviously progressively fill back into the the premium sites. So traffic lights up here from both directions. It's really important to be thinking about traffic when you're doing site layouts and concepts, what you want to do. That's a one-way in. We've got there's a service station there, and then there's a really small development. There's about 16 storage units just there. They're owned by a guy that's about 90-year-old now, and that's been full for 40 years, right? And so it's pretty good. We've got a good relationship with the council, as much as I do rip them off. I actually do love them. They're pretty good. It's a great location. Yeah, that point of the project is only 400 metres from the CBD. We fall within the 900 ring for the infrastructure chargeback. So, we know the town plan inside and out for that area. We're in a great location. We've got a good price. I think we've got a good concept, and we've got the right commercials. So that's what she looks like. And
fantastic.
Obviously we want that, and we want that, that's what we're after. So that's what it looks like, Cheryl.
That looks great, David. Thank you so much for sharing. Love a master plan development.
Well, that's actually, that slide, I did run a pretty big funder through all that slide pack today. That's why it was up there.
Oh, good stuff. So if
anyone's our friend.
Anyone's looking to place some money, David's got a pretty good project there. Good stuff.
The doors come in blue and only blue, okay? Yeah.
Okay, to go with the branding. Is that the whole idea?
Oh no, special price for blue doors, Cheryl. You know that.
Yes, I do. all is good. Thank you. I can't wait to see how this all comes together. I've had many coffees and teas with little old ladies and little old gentlemen, so I can absolutely resonate with, well, probably not 120, but that's a huge achievement. So well done, and I think you'll be a fantastic project out where you are, and it's great. You're providing employment, heaps amount of employment in the area. If you've got education, I can't see why council would not be jumping up in excitement. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We're gonna know in about 3 weeks, Cheryl.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll be nice. Well, thanks, David. If anyone's keen to, obviously, because you're a buyer's agent, as we mentioned at the beginning as well, if they're keen to get in touch with you. I know you're busy, but you've got a good team.
We've got a good team.
You've got a good team there.
We've got a good office.
What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, please through the Facebook page. Bluegum Property is great. You know, my website's not too great. I've got to fix that, as Cheryl knows. Yeah, David at bluegumproperty.com. And but yeah, look, obviously everyone's on Facebook here tonight. So if you find Bluegum Property or myself, just hit me up straight on Facebook. We will get back to you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You've got a few kudos there. Great work, good integrity, David, and awesome. Thank you for your time. It's been fantastic, and I appreciate. Good luck.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Good luck.
Appreciate everything.
I'll touch base with you again soon. Take care.
You will. Thanks, hon.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right.